Okay, Philip was born in Moscow in 1966 and raised in Russia and Moldova. Philip grew up equally fluent in English and Russian. On relocating to the US in 1990 to attend Harvard, he had written primarily in English. His poetry is published internationally. Philip's previous collections include Monkey Time, which was the winner of the 2001 Verse Prize. That's now Wave Books. He lives in Boston and co-edits Fulcrum together with myself and Katya, which will shortly be coming out in November with a fantastic feature on Native American poets edited by Alison Hedgecock, who will be reading tonight as well. Welcome, Philip.
Okay, eagles. 2 eagles circled over Cambridge today, a rare sight, lovely against the chalkboard sky. Drawn to stare, I soon noticed that they went around in near-perfect circles at even speed. In fact, they looked exactly identical. Their widespread wings didn't so much as flutter. I heard a thin electrical whiz and wondered if they carried tiny surveillance cameras on board that could scan Shakespeare and the pathos of rambling that I was reading. The next one is a diptych, 2 poems, under the common title Thunders. 1. Throughout the music-colored sky and visible land, swift alteration of night and day, with more blinding crashes per minute, per minute, per minute. Tonight they really mean it up there and are gonna make a big racket for fully a couple of hours, across rain hanging in strobe tatters. Car alarms go off in the thunder, and the photosensitive lighting of the parking lot keeps coming on and off and on and off, weakling competitor to the sky. All windows stay fast unlit. Electricity wells, smells, and clangs 1,000 bells. In the middle of all this, absolutely and temporarily free, a poet on the balcony smokes into the sky, grateful that he couldn't sleep. 2. At the playground with Sophia at 6:30 p.m., an F-15 fighter jet flew by low. Nowadays they sometimes do that on purpose, sending off a shockwave of sound and fury through the streets, triggering car alarms at the set parking lot. Once the air blast passed, the playground filled with the weaker alarms of stunned children, the sandbox sounding the most desperate. The next poem is called Tendency Toward Vagrancy, and it's about my childhood, which passed in the glorious land of Moldova. For those of you who have not heard of it, it's a tiny post-Soviet country, a little sliver of a country that's squeezed in between Ukraine and Romania, and it's a separate country now. But it was a part of the USSR, and I lived there when I was a kid. Tendency Toward Vagrancy. I've long had what Soviet psychiatrists called a tendency toward vagrancy. At 4, I would run away from home, repeatedly, for a whole day, alone or sometimes with a friend named Boris, of like age. Knew full well that we just can't do this, but nudge for nudge and wink for wink. Would board the trolleybus number 10, I think, buy tickets at 4 kopecks each, from our gleanings and savings of the week, stick them into the ticket punch on the wall, watch the chat fall as you pulled, and ride all across Chisinau in half an hour to get off near that unforgettable restaurant built in the likeness of a huge wine barrel. We peeked inside, it was cool. Then we had options. Go and splash in the local artificial lake, I couldn't swim yet, or wander in between along the banks, catching frogs to take home in a glass jar to populate a small construction pond. Why did we always use my shirt to do this? Or go and explore the local flea market, which was not at all safe to do, but even at 4 it's nice to have options. One guy sold what we thought was a gun. We asked him and he confirmed it. Those were days of cholera epidemics in Moldova. We'd buy peasant-cooked fodder corn on the cob when we got hungry, haggled with old ladies over pennies. We wouldn't catch the return trolley until sunset. Then it's always the same picture. The wicket creaks open, the landlord's mutant barks through froth, my wet shirt clings, I step out of the dark, toward my mother waiting by the door of our temporary house on Kaluga Street, which was a bit of a dirt road, probably still is. She's been crying, takes me inside. Room and kitchen, no bathroom or running water. The room had a brick stove, the kitchen a dirt floor with mice and sometimes grass, and a white washstand. These lines are all that has survived of them. There was great beauty in their squalor. She has been crying, takes me inside, says she will scold me later. I know it will be soon. First she must call the cops to tell them I've been found. Of course, back then I didn't understand anything, neither how a poet harms his mother, nor how alienated, thank you Marx for that term, one can be from the start, and free, in the grip of that greatest paradox of all, a happy Soviet childhood. Not otherwise thought. The character whose sleep is all messed up, who is awakened by the least misstep in a dream and hobbles to the stairwell to smoke, can't quit however hard tried, smoking on the landing on an empty stomach, does give consolation, as well as thoughts not otherwise thought, leading upward and downward, like the stripes we call stairs, with light bulbs so yellow one can't tell whether the walls are beige or white, never seen in plain day. Who could be you, except that it may be me, dissolves instant coffee in hot tap water in a pre-cracked cup, melts therein with sugar all secondary considerations regarding awakening his company of companions still dormant, and who must slink quietly in the dark, make an effort to breathe softly, think peaceable thoughts lest an abrupt sound erupt, rather glare at the obtruding moon for a time, then back to the stairwell with your coffee, with my cigarettes, to think some more thoughts not otherwise thought, the character whose sleep is all messed up. Facts of life. Big fiefdoms of leaves, beehives of griefs, companies of thieves. Conglomerates of these, a worldwide disease, are anywhere you breathe. If you haven't yet thought that you are sold and bought, you haven't thought aught. The policy is signed, now it can only bind, whether or not you mind. The next level. To advance to the next level of enlightenment, say those ancients, you must first teach another, for teaching requires perfected knowledge. I don't know how it is in matters spiritual, but in life mundane, teachership gets away with plenty. My father taught me English before he knew it himself. He read to me from Finist the Bright Falcon, Russian folk tales in English translation, explaining the English sentence by sentence, in his own fashion. Plus, he had a shortwave VEF radio, so the world service of the BBC, first the news read by Brian Embringham, reigned supreme in the house, interspersed with brainwashing from the Radio Moscow World Service. I first learned the difference between the two worlds by marking disparities of grammar and intonation. On the other hand, I don't know how to ride a bike, because somehow I've never had one. My daughter, at 6, cycles swiftly on her two-wheeler. She learned to bike just a couple of weeks ago. I gripped the handlebars to help her first find her balance. And in telling her that pedaling is like walking, that air holds you up like water, I concealed from her my ignorance, but not for long. The next thing I knew was she braked expertly, turned back to me sharply and declared, "Now it's your turn." And I conclude with a little poem called Earth. But what to make of the diminished lot, of what man could have got and yet has not? But let him simply while away the day, and soon this will not matter anyway. Walking in vain across a cloudy sky, he scans the grasslands with an acid eye, like a slightly more modern Robert Frost. But what of what man had yet somehow lost? Staring at nature helps him to forget, to come to terms, to cancel out the debt. All night he whistled with a mockingbird, and now on his old keyboard types a word or two into the world, and falls asleep. The land has willows, something needs to weep. Thank you.